Lyon County podium.
Yes, I can. Check, check, 3, 2, 1. Check, check. Okay, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds and then throw back to you guys. Check, check, 3, 2, 1. 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 Okay. Oh, now it looks like Sheriff's coming over here, so... Guys, Sheriff is going to be here in 10 seconds, so go to the podium.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here this afternoon to give you a briefing about a shooting incident that occurred just a few miles away from here. I have with me the school superintendent, Dr. Barbara Jenkins, also the principal for the West Orange High School, Mr. Szynski, and also other staff from the Sheriff's Office here. To give you a summary of what has occurred this afternoon, at 1:15 at West Orange High School, located at 1625 South Beulah Road, the school was scheduled for normal dismissal on a Wednesday. At about 1:24 p.m., the Orange County Sheriff's Office received a phone call via the 911 system from the front office of the school indicating that a shooting incident had occurred. At that time, we had a deputy sheriff who was on campus as a school resource officer there. She immediately instituted what we call active shooter protocols. At that point, nearly 100 law enforcement officers from the Sheriff's Office and surrounding agencies responded to West Orange High School to contain the situation. We were told that 2 students were involved in a fight and 1 had been shot. School administrators are the ones who performed first aid during the ordeal. Dr. Jenkins will talk more about some of the school protocols in just a moment. In addition, the shooting actually did occur on campus. It was in the bus loop area of the school. We identified a 15-year-old victim who was a student at the school by the name of Geroderick Smith, born January 12, 1998. The shooter was identified as Jamorian Eddie Patrick Bell, date of birth March 10, 1996. We understand that at this time, based on the update we received from the hospital, the student is in stable condition. What we will do at this point is I'll ask Dr. Jenkins to talk more about school board protocols, and then we'll take some questions at that time. Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you for being here. A couple of things I would like to add to what the sheriff has offered already. Certainly we are very appreciative to our law enforcement and their assistance. I want to commend school administrative staff who reacted very swiftly to put the school in lockdown. That means they made every effort to make sure other students on campus were safe. I also certainly want to commend the nurse and others who administered the initial medical assistance to that student. Let me say first and foremost how critical it is that we have our entire community help us support what happens in our schools and keeping our children safe, because I believe part of what the Sheriff's Office had to go through with looking for that suspect really depended on community support to keep our children safe. More importantly than anything is that that student is going to be okay from all indications. Our hearts go out to that mother and to the family. That is just a heart-wrenching call to receive. Nobody wants to believe that their child left home perfectly safe and has been injured by gunshot wound. And so our thoughts and prayers are certainly with them. My deputy superintendent is at the hospital, and the mayor and our school board chairman and Pam Gould were also at the hospital earlier to make sure things were well there. I think it's also important to note the lockdown took place immediately. We are still in the process of sending students home safely. We are not making an assumption because there's been an arrest that children can just be released. So we are still in our safety protocol. So children are being released to parents and guardians or escorted to the parking lot where their cars are parked or bused over to Ocoee High School. They will not just be released in the community at this point because we still want to be extremely careful for their safety. We are convinced that with this entire community support, our school board and others are convinced that we can keep our children safe. We think our record is good. We think we responded swiftly to something that could not be foreseen. Most of all, we are thankful that the student is okay. I don't know if Chairman or Mayor would like to have a few words.
Thank you. If I can just comment for just a minute. Chairman Sublette and I both had an opportunity to visit with the family. Obviously, they are very upset, as all of us would be if we were in the same situation. I think it is important to remember, though, that we are a strong community and we are an extremely caring community. And I think that was the message that we both shared with the family, that our whole community is saddened and shook up by this, but this does not define us by any stretch of the imagination. And it's important for everybody in this community to talk to your kids, to reassure your kids, to make sure that they're talking to you. If they know that a friend has a gun, they need to talk. We really need to make sure we keep those lines of communications open. And I think the biggest message, the school board did their job. The sheriff did his job. The hospital, the trauma center, thank goodness we have it. They did their job. Make sure as parents that we're doing our job. And that job is to talk. Whether our kids want to listen or they want to talk, you talk anyway. And you keep the dialogue going. So we need everybody in this community to make sure that we remain strong and a great support system for our kids. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I just want to emphasize that first and foremost that we are relieved that the young man who was shot is in stable condition and will survive. His family, his mother and his aunts and his grandmother, of course, very overwrought with grief over what had happened to their son. I do want to stress, though, that this was an isolated incident and echo something that the mayor said, that the only way we can truly prevent these incidents is for our entire community to come together and to let us know if there's a situation occurring, or let us know if there's a young person who may have a vendetta, may have a weapon, so that we can take steps to prevent it. I want to thank the Sheriff's Office for their prompt response in responding to this situation, and for the county's assistance with this as well. We have a wonderful partnership with the sheriff and with the county, and from what I know of the situation, their response was textbook perfect. And I especially want to commend our administrators, because this could have easily been a greater tragedy but for the response of our administrators and them abiding by our safety protocols. So let me close by saying our prayers and thoughts go out to the victim and his family, and really that's all that is important today, that victim fully recover. Ms. Gould is a school board member for that area. Ms. Gould, would you like to say anything?
I can't say more than what was said by the wonderful speakers before me, but I do want to agree with one thing, that this community continually rallies and moves forward together, and the only way that we can ever combat anything that is disruptive like this is if we work together as parents, as community members, with the businesses, with our school system. And I too want to commend Principal Szynski and his team, and of course the wonderful nurse on staff, for the fast action on behalf of that boy, because without that fast action it could have been worse. So thank you so much.
The only thing that I will add is that one of the things that we do very well in this community, we prepare in advance. There's no substitute for planning and preparation. The Sheriff's Office, as well as the other local law enforcement agencies, work very closely with the school district to ensure that if we have an incident at any of our schools, we already have established procedures on how we would respond. Today we were able to institute those procedures seamlessly. With the assistance of agencies like the Orlando Police Department, the Winter Garden Police Department, as well as the Ocoee Police Department, we were able to respond and set up a perimeter, and as a result of that, we were able to quickly identify the shooter in this case. And sadly, I have to say he's a young man that's 17 years old. that we took into custody about 3:20 this afternoon. We sadly will move forward at this point to ensure that we have other protocols in place that will hopefully prevent similar situations from occurring in the future.
Sheriff,
Any questions?
Do you know if this young man is a student at the school? Do we know anything more about the conflict between he and the victim?
All I can tell you is I'll let the school district respond to that more specifically. Mr. Szynski is here, the principal, but we have been told that he is confirmed as a student. Mr. Szynski, would you like to speak to that at all? If not, we'll defer to the superintendent.
Yeah, and actually what we've determined is that he is a student, that there was an altercation or at least a threat of a fight, and then shots fired. That's what we have as far as the details go at this point. Students are still being interviewed and all of that information is being gathered.
Dr. Jenkins, were there any metal detectors in place today or any of the random security procedures that I know have been going around?
We have random metal screening detection. I can't tell you, to my knowledge, it was not scheduled at West Orange High School today, but we still have our random metal screenings in place.
Sheriff, do you know what sparked the fight and subsequent shooting between these two?
Well, our detectives are currently interviewing the suspect. The victim obviously is in the hospital and not in a position where he can really give us a lot of detail. However, there were 25 to 30 other witnesses, students who observed it. We're going through that process to determine exactly what occurred.
Did students come to the victim's aid after he was shot?
I'm told that it was students and really the staff, the administrators there. There was a nurse assigned to the school who responded immediately, and they were able to give immediate first aid until the fire department paramedics were able to
Was there just
respond.
a one shot fired, Sheriff, or do you know if there were any
It
more?
appears that there was at least 2 rounds fired. Of course, we're verifying that through the hospital, but at this time it appears that there were 2 rounds fired.
Sheriff, do you know where the victim was shot?
He was shot somewhere in the face and somewhere in the abdomen.
We saw a huge perimeter in this area. How did your office eventually track down that suspect?
Well, we were getting information from people who believed that he got into a vehicle and some other things occurred, that we were able to respond to an area, verify the individual was in a car, and subsequently arrested him.
Did anybody help him get away from the scene, to your knowledge?
Apparently there may have been someone who assisted him in leaving the scene.
Do you anticipate more arrests as a result of that?
I can't say right now. That is still under investigation, but probably not likely at this point.
Any surveillance video or anything that may have helped you with this?
Don't have surveillance video at this time, but of course the world that we live in, everybody has a cell phone, so we're going through that process. It very well may be likely that there was a student who had a cell phone or something. We'll go through the process of retrieving that information.
Sheriff, have you recovered the gun? Can you tell us about it?
We have not recovered the gun, at least as of about 15 minutes ago.
Do you know at this point if the suspect has had any previous run-ins with the law here in Central Florida?
That I couldn't tell you at this time either. He is a juvenile, 17 years old. We're going through the process of verifying that now.
Sheriff, what strikes me is if you had 25 or 30 kids there in the bus loop and someone starts firing a gun with multiple rounds, it seems like we're lucky there was only one person injured, that this wasn't worse.
Well, we're very fortunate that it was not worse. Anytime that you take a firearm onto a school campus, disastrous things can occur as a result of that. But today we had one student who sadly was shot, but appears will survive.
Will anything be done differently at public schools in the county beginning tomorrow because of this, or will it really be business as usual?
Superintendent.
I want to be very clear. Our board has authorized additional security measures for all of our schools that have been in place. We still have some experts that are helping us make additional provisions and additional recommendations. We purposely don't give a lot of publicity about some of those procedures because we don't want to warn people in advance. I will tell you the random metal detection visits have been quite effective, and so that will certainly continue as well.
Okay, thank you all very much for coming out this evening, and thanks to the mayor, the school board chair, superintendent, and others for being here to support this effort. Thank you.